You might not know this, but in September 2013, China's imports of petroleum exceeded those of the United States on a monthly basis, making it the largest importer of crude oil in the world.
Oil, that is, black gold.
The rise in China's imports of petroleum is driven by steady economic growth, with rapidly rising Chinese petroleum demand outpacing production growth. So with China being the largest crude oil importer in the world, we wanted to know which countries supply China with crude oil. Here's our list for the top 5 countries that export oil to China. Coming at number 5 is Oman. Many people might not know a lot about it, but Oman has modest oil reserves, ranking 25th globally. In 2010, the UNDP ranked Oman as the most improved nation in the world in terms of development during the preceding 40 years. A significant portion of its economy involves tourism and trade of fish, dates, and other agricultural products. This sets it apart from its neighbors' largely oil-dependent economies.
Oil! Got all nice job ahead of us, fellas.
In terms of oil production, China was Oman's #1 client for crude oil, importing 143.39 million barrels from the Gulf states in the first 7 months of 2016 and accounting for 75.2% of Oman's overall crude oil exports. On an annual basis, Chinese imports rose by 2.9%. The rest of the oil was exported to the US, South Korea, and Japan. Many people think of war when they think of Iraq, but the country's oil production has remained steady. In February, Iraq pumped 4.57 million barrels per day of oil and exported 3.87 million barrels a day from its southern and northern shipment hubs. It plans to increase oil output to 5 million barrels per day by the end of 2017. Much of its oil exports are coming to China. Iraq is OPEC's second biggest producer behind Saudi Arabia and now ranks 4th among crude suppliers to China. Saudi Arabia used to be the #1 exporter of crude oil to China for many years, but recently things have changed. Now, Saudi Arabia has fallen to the 3rd spot due to cutbacks in production in early 2017. Saudi Arabia's crude exports are expected to fall below 7 million barrels per day this summer, according to industry sources familiar with the matter. Overall, Saudi exports are set to be lower than last year when the kingdom shipped about 7.4 million barrels per day on average from May to August. This is partly because Saudi Arabia burns more crude in power stations at home in the summer months to meet extra demand for power, as people rely on air conditioners to deal with temperatures that can reach 50 degrees Celsius.
It's a healthy climate, and children thrive on it.
This year, Saudi Arabia is also leading OPEC and other producers in a pact to cut output, a deal initially due to run in the first half of 2017 and now extended until March 2018. When people think of oil production, many will think of the Middle East. But in recent years, more and more African countries are producing crude. The #2 country on our list is Angola. Angola has vast mineral and petroleum reserves, and its economy is among the fastest growing in the world, especially since the end of the Civil War. Angola's crude oil exports have fluctuated over the last year, but Angola was the second biggest supplier of oil to China in the first 5 months of 2017. The news agency Reuters, citing data provided by the Chinese General Administration of Customs, said that exports of Angolan oil to China averaged 1.11 million barrels per day in the first 5 months. During May 2017, Angola exported oil to China at the rate of 1.31 million barrels per day, 79.5% faster than a year earlier. If you haven't guessed it yet, our #1 exporter of crude oil to China is Russia. That's right, China and Russia have been strong partners for many years. More recently, as China's economy has grown and middle class swelled, Russia has been supplying more and more petroleum products to China. Russia overtook Saudi Arabia in 2016 to become China's biggest crude oil supplier for the first year ever. In 2017, Russia continues to be China's largest supplier. So there you have it, the top 5 countries that export oil to China. Although the top exports changed based on price, These 5 countries have continued to take the top spots over the last few years. What do you think of our list? Leave a comment below and let me know. I'm your host, Jialan. See you next time. Bye bye!